Good morning, everyone. Today I want to invite you to step into a mindset that has roots reaching back centuries, yet offers insights that feel as relevant as ever in our modern lives, a philosophy known as Wabi-Sabi. Now, many of you may have heard the term, perhaps in relation to Japanese aesthetics, or even as a popular theme in the art and design world. But I encourage you today to look deeper and realize that Wabi-Sabi is far more than a visual style. It's a profound way of viewing the world, a perspective that can transform how we see ourselves, others, and the experiences we go through every day. The essence of Wabi-Sabi is to embrace imperfection, transience, and the natural cycle of growth and decay. Imagine that a philosophy that tells us that flaws aren't flaws at all. Instead, they are marks of authenticity, symbols of resilience, and elements of beauty. It teaches that beauty exists not in spite of imperfection, but because of it. This perspective, this powerful way of thinking, is something that can free us from the chains of unrealistic perfectionism and relentless comparison. Think about that for a moment. How often do we tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I achieve this goal, or I'll be satisfied when I look a certain way, or I'll feel fulfilled when I reach a certain point in my life? We tie our happiness to these finish lines, to these ideals of perfection. But if we dig down, we might see that those finish lines keep moving. And those ideals, well, they may not even be real. They are constructs of a society that has conditioned us to always be looking toward what's next, always focused on how to improve ourselves in ways that we think others will approve of. Wabi-Sabi teaches us to pause, to appreciate the beauty in where we are right now, even with all the so-called imperfections we see in ourselves and our lives. At its core, Wabi-Sabi is about the impermanence of everything. And this is not meant to be a discouraging realization, it is a deeply liberating one. When we accept that nothing is permanent, we can start to appreciate things, people, and moments for what they are, rather than what we wish they could be. This mindset gives us permission to let go of what we can't control and find peace in the way things naturally unfold. Let me share a story to illustrate this. Picture a handcrafted ceramic bowl. In Japan, when a precious ceramic bowl is broken, it is sometimes repaired using gold lacquer in a technique known as kintsugi. Instead of trying to hide the cracks, kintsugi artists make them more visible, filling the fractures with gold, creating a new and even more beautiful object. The cracks are not viewed as flaws or weaknesses, rather they become symbols of resilience, of history, and of the journey the bowl has undergone. Kintsugi reflects the Wabi-Sabi mindset. It celebrates the beauty in what has been broken and healed. This bowl, once seemingly ruined, is now unique and stunning in a new way. Think of yourself as that bowl. You are not just your successes or the moments when everything went right. You are also the sum of every challenge, every setback, every experience that left a scar or mark. And those marks are not ugly, they are golden. They tell a story of endurance, of lessons learned, of how you adapted and grew even when things fell apart. Each one of us has these marks. They are part of what makes us beautiful and whole. This mindset becomes especially powerful when we consider how we view ourselves and others. It allows us to be gentler, kinder, and more compassionate with ourselves. When we embrace the imperfections, we stop comparing ourselves to an impossible standard of perfection. We start to see the value in our unique qualities, even the quirky or unconventional aspects of who we are. We realize that every struggle, every challenge, and every flaw contributes to the tapestry of our lives. Embracing imperfection means recognizing that growth is a continuous journey, not a destination. And this, friends, is where true beauty lies, not in being finished, polished, or flawless, but in being genuinely, authentically ourselves. Wabi-Sabi also teaches us to value simplicity and mindfulness. So much of our lives are spent in a rush, chasing the next thing, wanting to acquire or achieve more. But what if instead we chose to slow down and appreciate what's already around us? What if we chose to see the beauty in the simplicity of daily life, in the moments that often go unnoticed? In Wabi-Sabi, we find beauty in the modest, the humble, and the natural. We don't need grand achievements to feel fulfilled. We don't need everything to be extraordinary to feel joy. Wabi-Sabi teaches us that there is wonder in the ordinary, and that sometimes the greatest treasures are found in the quiet, unassuming details. And so as we go about our lives, let us remember that there is beauty in every stage, in every aspect of who we are. Imagine if we treated each day as something precious, not because it went perfectly, but because it existed at all. Imagine if we looked at ourselves and others with that same gentle eye, appreciating the quirks and idiosyncrasies instead of judging them. Life, like nature, is full of cycles. It has its seasons, moments of growth, moments of blossoming, moments of shedding, and moments of stillness. And just as in nature, none of these phases are inherently better or worse than the others. They all serve a purpose. They are all beautiful in their own way. We are all constantly growing, evolving, and learning. Our lives are always in motion, always shifting, and that's okay. We can embrace that flow, that change, and see it as part of the adventure. So the next time you feel pressure to have everything figured out, remember that it's okay to be a work in progress. It's okay to be unfinished. It's okay to have dreams that are still unfolding and goals that are still in the making. Wabi-Sabi is about finding contentment in the present moment, about seeing ourselves not as projects to be completed, but as lives to be lived. Let us remember too, that the Wabi-Sabi approach doesn't just apply to us as individuals, it can transform our relationships as well. When we stop expecting perfection from ourselves, we become more open to seeing and accepting others as they truly are. We let go of rigid expectations and allow space for understanding, patience, and love to grow. We learn to cherish people not for how well they fit into our preconceived molds, but for the genuine, complex, and beautiful individuals they are. Let us all embrace the spirit of Wabi-Sabi. Let us see beauty in our flaws, joy in simplicity, and meaning in every moment. Let us honor our cracks, fill them with metaphorical gold, and wear them with pride. Let us find peace in the knowledge that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy, loved, or happy. Our lives, in all their imperfection, are beautiful just as they are. Imagine waking up each morning and instead of immediately thinking about what you need to fix or improve, allowing yourself to be grateful for exactly where you are. Instead of looking in the mirror and focusing on flaws or imperfections, consider what it would feel like to see every line, every mark, every unique feature as a cherished part of your journey. Think how living it would be to see yourself, not with criticism, but with appreciation for all that you've experienced, endured, and grown through. Wabi-Sabi invites us to bring that compassionate lens into every morning, every encounter, and every reflection, allowing ourselves to truly be at peace with who we are at this very moment. There's also a lesson in Wabi-Sabi about letting go of control. Often we feel the need to direct everything in our lives, from our relationships to our career paths to the smallest details of our daily routines. But Wabi-Sabi reminds us that life is inherently unpredictable, and that some of the most beautiful moments come not from what we plan, but from what we allow to unfold. When we accept that we don't have to have complete control, we start to experience life in a richer, more fulfilling way. We become open to the surprises, the serendipities, and the unplanned paths that can bring unexpected joy and growth. There's a unique beauty in surrendering to the natural rhythm of life, in trusting that not everything needs to be perfect to be worthwhile. Wabi-Sabi can also deepen our experience of creativity. In a world that so often emphasizes perfection and refinement, it's easy to get caught up in creating something that looks flawless or meets high standards. But the art that resonates most deeply is often imperfect, it's raw, it's real, it's vulnerable. Wabi-Sabi encourages us to approach our creative endeavors with a sense of openness and humility. It's not about creating something flawless, it's about creating something authentic. When we embrace imperfections in our work, whether that's writing, painting, designing, or even problem solving, we bring a unique and personal touch that is genuinely meaningful. By letting go of perfection, we allow our true selves to come through in our creations. This philosophy is also a balm for the constant pace and noise of modern life. So often we are swept up in a rush, moving from one task to the next, without ever taking a moment to breathe, to reflect, to simply be. Wabi-Sabi encourages us to slow down and immerse ourselves in each moment. It's about savoring a cup of tea, appreciating the texture of an old book, feeling the warmth of sunlight, or noticing the rustling of leaves. It's about being present fully and deeply so that life doesn't just pass us by in a blur. This slowing down, this mindfulness is a gift to ourselves, helping us to reconnect with the quiet, grounded parts of who we are. As we integrate Wabi-Sabi into our lives, we start to see that imperfections aren't something to be ashamed of. They're what make us and the world around us beautifully unique. Instead of hiding the scars, the wrinkles, or the worn edges, we can honor them as marks of resilience and character. Every scar, every scratch, every uneven edge tells a story. And if we let go of the urge to smooth everything out, to polish every rough spot, we can learn to see our own lives, our own selves, as precious works of art. Wabi-Sabi shows us that our value doesn't come from always being strong or successful. It comes from our authenticity, from showing up in our real, imperfect, and sometimes messy selves. In a culture that often celebrates the flawless and unblemished, Wabi-Sabi gives us permission to be human. It reminds us that true strength isn't about never falling, it's about embracing each time we stand up, each lesson we learn, and every step we take on our path. So let Wabi-Sabi be an invitation to find peace within yourself, to honor your journey with all its ups and downs, to appreciate the beauty in the life that surrounds you and in the life that you're living each day. In this, may we all find a sense of wholeness, a quiet joy, and a renewed appreciation for the extraordinary beauty that exists within the ordinary and the imperfect. Wabi-Sabi teaches us the importance of resilience, showing us that it's not about avoiding the cracks and breaks in life, but about how we handle them. Life will inevitably challenge us, relationships will be tested, ambitions may falter, and dreams may change. But Wabi-Sabi reminds us that these experiences don't diminish our worth. In fact, they add to it. Every challenge we overcome becomes part of our story, each hardship another layer that makes us who we are. Instead of fearing these moments, Wabi-Sabi encourages us to accept them with grace, knowing that they will deepen our character and enrich our lives. This approach also helps us redefine what it means to be successful. Success in the Wabi-Sabi mindset isn't about reaching a pinnacle or checking every box. Instead, it's about finding contentment, purpose, and connection, regardless of our circumstances. It's not about having the most polished life, it's about being grounded in a life that's real and meaningful. Success, in this sense, means accepting the ebb and flow, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and recognizing that our true value lies not in what we accomplish, but in how authentically we live. Wabi-Sabi can reshape how we view aging as well. In a society that often chases youth and fears growing older, Wabi-Sabi offers a refreshing perspective. Aging is not something to avoid or cover up, it's something to be embraced. Each year adds a layer of wisdom, of memories, of experiences that contribute to the beauty of who we are. Just as the weathered texture of an old tree or a time-worn stone has a unique beauty, our aging selves have a richness and depth that only time can bring. By embracing Wabi-Sabi, we learn to see the beauty in every phase of life, understanding that each stage has its own gifts and lessons to offer. Wabi-Sabi can also transform how we approach our homes and the spaces we live in. Rather than filling our surroundings with the latest trends or striving for a perfect interior, we can cultivate spaces that are comfortable lived in and reflective of our true selves. Wabi-Sabi encourages us to fill our homes with things that have personal meaning, items that tell a story, that have a history, that show the marks of time. Instead of chasing pristine perfection, we can create spaces that feel warm, inviting, and genuine, places where we and others feel at ease and truly at home. One of the most empowering lessons Wabi-Sabi offers is that happiness is not something we need to chase, it's something we can cultivate from within by accepting and embracing what already is. We live in a world that tells us to seek happiness in external achievements or possessions, but Wabi-Sabi reminds us that lasting contentment comes from appreciating the present, from finding joy in the everyday, and from seeing beauty in the imperfect. When we embrace this philosophy, we start to realize that harvest isn't out there somewhere, it's here right now in our daily experiences. Finally, Wabi-Sabi invites us to practice gratitude not just for the things that go right, but for the entirety of our experience. It encourages us to appreciate the small things, to savor the quiet moments, and to find meaning in the journey itself. Gratitude becomes a powerful tool when we accept all parts of our lives, including the imperfect and the incomplete. By letting go of the constant need for improvement, we can feel gratitude for life exactly as it is, recognizing that it is beautiful not because it's flawless, but because it's real. So, as we carry Wabi-Sabi forward into our daily lives, let it serve as a gentle reminder that life is not about perfection or completion, but about being present and authentic. Let it remind us that beauty, happiness, and peace are already within reach, if only we take the time to see them. And may this philosophy guide us to live with an open heart, finding beauty in every imperfection, every moment, and every part of the journey. As we continue to embrace Wabi-Sabi, let us reflect on how it can change our approach to failure. In a world that often stigmatizes mistakes and failures, Wabi-Sabi teaches us to see them as stepping stones rather than setbacks. It reminds us that failure is not something to hide from or feel ashamed of, but rather something to embrace and learn from. Each failure shapes us, gives us strength, and pushes us to grow in ways we never expected. Just as a scar adds character to a piece of pottery, each failure adds character to who we are. We emerge from failure with more resilience, empathy, and wisdom than we had before. In this way, Wabi-Sabi encourages us to not only accept failure, but to value it as a vital part of the human experience. Wabi-Sabi also guides us in managing our expectations, not only of ourselves, but also of others. Often we set incredibly high standards for the people in our lives, expecting them to meet our ideals. But what if instead of expecting perfection from others, we saw them as they truly are, embracing their flaws and imperfections? Wabi-Sabi teaches us to appreciate others for their authenticity and humanity, recognizing that they too are works in progress, just like us. When we accept others as they are, without the need to change them, we create deeper, more fulfilling connections. We begin to see the beauty in their imperfections and find peace in the knowledge that we are all just trying our best. This mindset creates relationships built on acceptance and understanding rather than unrealistic expectations. Another profound gift of Wabi-Sabi is its encouragement to let go of the fear of change. Life at its core is a series of transformations. and nothing remains static. When we resist change, we often create suffering for ourselves, clinging to what was or fearing what might be. Wabi-Sabi, however, shows us that change is not something to resist, but something to flow with. Change is natural, inevitable, and part of the beauty of life. By embracing change with an open heart, we open ourselves to new possibilities and experiences. Just as the seasons cycle and the leaves fall, we can trust that each change brings its own beauty and purpose. When we accept change, we allow ourselves to grow with it, becoming stronger and more adaptable. Wabi-Sabi also encourages us to slow down and find joy in the simple, quiet moments. We live in a society that often values speed, productivity, and constant progress. But in this rush, we often miss out on the beauty of everyday life, the beauty that exists in a morning sunrise, a quiet walk, or the sound of laughter with friends. Wabi-Sabi reminds us that life's most meaningful moments are often small and understated. By slowing down, we give ourselves the chance to truly experience these moments, to connect with them deeply, and to find contentment in simply being present. In this way, Wabi-Sabi encourages a life filled not with busyness, but with purpose and mindfulness. This philosophy also extends to how we treat ourselves on an emotional level. We often believe we must always be positive, always together, or constantly strong. But Wabi-Sabi shows us that all emotions are valid and that our experiences, even the painful ones, have a place in our lives. It encourages us to honor our feelings without judgment, knowing that they are part of our authentic self. By embracing our entire range of emotions, the joy, the sadness, the anger, the love, we learn to live fully and genuinely. In doing so, we become more compassionate with ourselves, recognizing that it's okay to feel vulnerable and that our worth isn't defined by always being strong. Wabi-Sabi can also remind us that we are part of a larger tapestry of life, one that is ever evolving and interconnected. By accepting our own imperfection, we become more compassionate towards the world around us. We begin to appreciate the delicate balance of nature, the beauty in aging, and the resilience found in every living thing. Wabi-Sabi teaches us to honor the cycles of life, from birth to growth to decay. Just as nature thrives on change and embraces imperfection, we too can find our place within this vast, interconnected world. We realize that, like everything else, we are here to grow, to experience and to embrace the journey. In essence, Wabi-Sabi is a call to live a more gentle, compassionate, and fulfilled life. It invites us to shed the pressure to constantly achieve, to be flawless, and to control every outcome. Instead, it encourages us to find beauty and peace in what is, in the now, and in the journey of becoming. It shows us that a life lived authentically with gratitude, acceptance, and mindfulness is a life well lived. When we adopt this mindset, we begin to see the world with new eyes that recognize the unique beauty in each moment, each person, and each experience. So let us carry this philosophy with us, not just as an idea, but as a practice or way of being. Let us live in such a way that every flaw, every challenge, and every imperfect moment adds to the masterpiece that is our life. Let us remember that true beauty, true happiness, and true fulfillment lie not in perfection, but in embracing all that we are and all that life brings our way. In conclusion, the essence of Wabi-Sabi is one of profound acceptance, humility, and a deep-rooted appreciation for the journey of life itself. It teaches us that beauty isn't some static ideal to achieve, but a dynamic quality to uncover in every moment, every experience, and every relationship. Wabi-Sabi offers us a perspective that challenges modern norms of perfection and constant self-optimization. It invites us instead to embrace an alternative, one where we can find beauty in simplicity, find meaning in impermanence, and find strength in our own vulnerability. Embracing Wabi-Sabi is more than just an aesthetic choice. It's a way of living that impacts every corner of our lives. Imagine for a moment what life would look like if we let go of the rigid ideals we hold ourselves to, if we stopped chasing the illusion of flawlessness and instead accepted our own imperfect humanity. Imagine the peace we might feel if we woke each day with gratitude for who we are right now, rather than dwelling on who we wish we could be or who we think we should be. This shift doesn't mean we stop growing or stop setting goals, but it means we release ourselves from the unrealistic standards that often leave us feeling like we're never enough. Through Wabi-Sabi, we begin to realize that imperfection is not a weakness but a source of beauty and resilience. We learn that every experience, no matter how challenging, adds depth to who we are, and that our so-called flaws are marks of our strength and our journey. Just as a tree twisted by wind and rain stands tall with unique character, we too become more beautiful and meaningful because of what we endure. Wabi-Sabi allows us to see that the stories behind our scars, whether physical or emotional, are part of what makes us whole and beautiful. This philosophy encourages us to slow down and savor life, to find joy in the small moments, the quiet spaces, and the subtle beauty that often goes unnoticed. In a world that celebrates speed, ambition, and outward success, Wabi-Sabi is a reminder that sometimes the most fulfilling life is not the one filled with constant achievement, but the one lived with presence, intention, and gratitude. It's a life where we appreciate a moment of laughter, the comfort of a well-worn chair, or the warmth of a shared meal. Wabi-Sabi shows us that true richness comes not from the grand or the perfect, but from embracing the richness of everyday experiences and the people we share them with. Wabi-Sabi also calls us to let go of the fear of change. Life is transient, ever shifting and uncertain, and our attempts to resist or control it only cause us suffering. Wabi-Sabi teaches us that change is not a loss, but a natural part of the cycle of existence. Seasons change, people grow, and even we ourselves are constantly evolving. By accepting this truth, we release ourselves from the exhausting task of trying to hold on to things that were never meant to be permanent. Instead, we learn to celebrate each season of life for what it brings, honoring every phase as a beautiful chapter in our story. Adopting the principles of Wabi-Sabi can also transform our relationships. When we stop expecting perfection from others, we open ourselves to deeper, more authentic connections. We become more accepting, more understanding, and more compassionate. We begin to see others not as projections of our ideals, but as real, complex, and imperfect individuals. This acceptance allows us to love more deeply, with an appreciation for the unique quirks and qualities that make each person special. In embracing others as they are, we find that relationships flourish not from expecting perfection, but from building trust, respect, and shared understanding. Furthermore, Wabi-Sabi invites us to see aging not as something to fear, but as something to honor. In a culture that often glorifies youth, Wabi-Sabi reminds us that aging is a natural, beautiful process that brings wisdom and depth. Just as an old tree or a time-worn building has a beauty that only age can bring, so too do we become more valuable and more beautiful with time. Our years, our experiences, and even our wrinkles tell the story of a life fully lived. They are reminders of our resilience, our growth, and our journey. By embracing aging with grace, we allow ourselves to live more fully, with gratitude for each new day and each new chapter. Wabi-Sabi is also a path to greater self-compassion. It teaches us to be gentle with ourselves, to understand that it's okay to make mistakes, to have rough days, and to feel emotions deeply. Rather than constantly striving to fix or improve ourselves, Wabi-Sabi encourages us to honor ourselves just as we are. It's a reminder that we are whole and complete, not because we are perfect, but because we are real. This self-compassion empowers us to live with authenticity and confidence, knowing that we are enough. Ultimately, Wabi-Sabi isn't about settling for less or giving up on improvement. It's about redefining what improvement means. It means growing in a way that honors who we are, finding fulfillment not in a relentless pursuit of perfection, but in a journey of becoming more fully ourselves. Wabi-Sabi invites us to let go of comparisons and competition, to stop measuring ourselves against others or against impossible standards, and to realize that our unique path is beautiful in its own right. So as we walk away today, let's carry the spirit of Wabi-Sabi with us. Let's strive to see beauty in the things that aren't polished or perfect, to honor the natural cycles of change, and to value our own authenticity. Let's find gratitude in the present moment, no matter how incomplete or flawed it may seem, and recognize that every crack, every scar, and every imperfection is part of the masterpiece that is our life. In embracing Wabi-Sabi, we find that we no longer need to chase after a perfect life or perfect self. Instead, we find peace in simply being who we are and appreciating each imperfect moment, and in living fully with gratitude and grace. And in doing so, we uncover a quiet, profound joy that fills every corner of our lives. This ultimately is the power of Wabi-Sabi, a life rich with meaning, grounded in presence, and woven with beauty in every imperfection. Thank you.